Welcome back to the show, everybody. We got great questions to ask today, one of which, will the XRP escrow be confiscated due to the SEC decision? We're also going to talk about Mexico to issue a digital peso. Christine Lagarde on BTC. BTC maxis better cover your ears. Brian Brooks from the OCC is out. Wait, what? Is he? No, let's find out. And Gary Gensler appointed to the SEC? Well, let's roll that beautiful intro. We got a lot to unpack today.
This is Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Subscribe for new content notifications. Now, here's Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow me on Twitter at BackupBradleyAbove at the top of the screen and everything that we're talking about here today. Let's go ahead and get started. It is from Michael Val. 5 links today. Shout out to you, my friend. Mexico may be forced to issue digital peso, claims economists. Failing to respond could be fatal. Central bankers appear to feel. Every time I go to record, I get the hiccups. It's unbelievable. So here we have another one from Michael Val, 5 links. Bravo. GateHub is the latest crypto firm to announce the continuation of XRP support despite Ripple's legal issues with the SEC. It is apparent to me that GateHub owns Band of Brothers, the box set. Let's keep moving. ECB President Christine Lagarde has said that Bitcoin is highly speculative and needs to be regulated. Ooh, yeah, somebody better get a crying room for all the Bitcoin maxis. I can hear it now, the screaming. Crypto regulations have to be applied and agreed upon at a global level, said Lagarde. And you know what? I said this yesterday. You know, when it comes to the maxis out here in this space, you better be careful what you ask for. You really better be careful, because I know that the price movement that's been happening with the crypto space and the market broadly has been institutional money. And that's what's been driving your price of your fancy little coin Bitcoin. So if you want that to continue, you better drop the anti-establishment, anti-bank business. That's my suggestion for the day. Now, I think regulating Bitcoin is going to be good for the overall market. And if you want those eventual high prices, you've got to be able to have that consumer protection and institutional protection by allowing these companies to do what they need to, or the regulatory agencies to do what they need to continue to bring the comfort and the structure through framework that allows them to feel comfortable to continue to invest money and allocate money from their investment funds into these assets. That's my thought on that. Let's keep moving here. A number of financial planners investing in crypto increased by 50%. And the reality here is exactly as I said. If you want that number to continue, you're going to need the things that we just went over. Now, moving on here, Brian Brooks, crypto-friendly OCC leader, steps down. Now, when you go into this article, it says it's not quite sure. It is likely that he steps down as head of Office of Comptroller of Currency. It says that he took a 5-year term after he was nominated by the current president. But with the transition to the Biden administration, a new OCC leader will be appointed to the position. So that being the case, and it says here, this article previously titled suggested that Brooks had already stepped down. This has been corrected. He has not stepped down as of yet. So we will keep a look out for that, but obviously with a administration turnover, that is not unlikely that could happen. So we will see what goes on from there. Now, looking at this, we saw yesterday that Mark P. Berger, the acting director of the Division of Enforcement at the U.S. Securities Exchange Commission, has played a major role in the SEC enforcement against Ripple Labs, is leaving the agency this month. Well, listen, I don't think he or Jay Clayton is a bad guy in the respect that, look, are we damaged because of that and the 7-year period that they let go by? Absolutely. But I also believe that this legal precedent needs to be set in order to move forward. Remember, Ripple and XRP are the anomaly, and the reason I believe they're being picked on here is because it's the first crypto tech that really, the token can do what it says it can do, and there's a very real company behind it. And they have Ripple stock, and they have also the digital asset XRP, the native currency to the XRP ledger, which is all decentralized that they do not own. So the question remains going forward is how will this shake out with the actual case with the SEC that they're involved in right now. We're going to talk more about that in just 1 second. Now, Gary Gensler has been appointed to the position in the SEC from the next administration to roll in here. Gensler has taught courses about Bitcoin and blockchain at MIT, comparatively open-minded about cryptocurrency. He has called Bitcoin a modern form of gold. Don't know if he's ever talked about how much it's been controlled, but it's a good thing that Ripple has a really long list, and shout out to Leonidas here, a really long list of attorneys, and you could see that all three columns here are Ripple's list, and then this is the list here at the SEC, and I wanted to show that because it looks like they're going to need that much counsel, because listen to the thoughts of Gary Gensler here on XRP being a security. And shout out to Jungle Inc. here. Let me move this bar so you can see. This is his channel where I pulled this video from. Appreciate you, my friend. Listen to the first 2 minutes that he lays out here.
Hugo has asked about the token XRP and whether I think it's a non-compliant security. I've spoken publicly. Yes, I do think it's a non-compliant security. But this will not be resolved just by the Securities and Exchange Commission. It will be resolved by some courts, whether it's appellate courts or the Supreme Court.
I believe it's a Supreme Court because that's where they got the decision for the SEC versus Howey, which ended up birthing the Howey test. I believe the Howey test remains, and I believe we see a second test because there is a new division of the SEC that's been created specifically to oversee digital assets, and I believe that new division needs a test like the Howey test. I believe this legal precedent from this case with Ripple will help become precedent for them to craft that new test, the Ripple test, if you will, for that division. Let's listen.
So what I believe is just that. It's a belief. But why would I say that? I think back to the Howey test. I think they are exchanging XRP. Ripple, the company, is exchanging XRP for something of value. And they're using it right now. They sell it every month. It's in a lockup. There's in an escrow. And they sell XRP every month. Ripple, the company, initially did the Genesis block back in 2013, but kept 80% of the tokens. Now,
not exactly true. This full disclosure here, Chevron pumps oil out of the ground and sells it for the benefit of their company too. So just playing devil's advocate to the point he's made here. And the other point of this is that Ripple and XRP was created when Ripple was actually open coin, and then it was gifted to Ripple and the founders. And upon doing so, they kept 20% of the 100%.
Now they have about 60% of the token. But they sell it on a continuous bet, 100 million to 200 million or so a month.
Again, Ripple has private equity shares that they sell, and the reality is that XRP is really looked at in that layout there. As much as he sees it as a security, it is also looked at from Ripple's point of view. They've clearly said the analogy between Chevron and oil in there, just a devil's advocate to the point.
Of value. Two, I think it is relying on a common enterprise. I think Ripple, the company, XRP investors are very much relying on Ripple, the company.
Here's where I would push back on this, and not to try to litigate the case here, but just to be devil's advocate to these points that Gary is making here, is that couldn't be further from the truth, because the reality is you could move the escrow into another third-party hands, which I believe it already is anyway. We'll get to that in a second. But the reality is it's not really incumbent on Ripple. It's incumbent on the volume of all the people in all the different areas of industry that have the need to settle transactions where XRP could be applicable. That volume and that utility moving on to the XRP ledger will provide the value for XRP, not Ripple, so to speak.
And that if Ripple, the company, went away, as you noted, there's not much use of XRP. In fact, for the first 3 or 4 years, or 5 years even, there was no use, and then they prototyped something called XRapid. Xcurrent, the main product of Ripple, the company, is a messaging and apparently a clever one that's competing with Swift. But XRapid, the prototype, doesn't have a large community right now. So
it doesn't have a large community in the manner that when cars were first built and created, there wasn't a large demand or a large community of car owners either, because they just invented it. And you have to take these things into consideration. You know, imagine what the use case for oil was before they built the engine, right? The combustion engine. So the really, you know, you have to look at these things and say to yourself, you know, because it's clear to me that the banks of the world, the payment providers, the small, medium enterprises that have a need for settlement of this and can benefit from the asset XRP, it is clear to me that they will become the engines to drive the volume and utility on the network, as XRP is the oil for those cars, if you will. So let's keep going.
It's highly centralized around Ripple, the company, the development, the node network. The ownership is 55 or 60% owned by them. They're promoting it as such.
Let's just take a look at this, and shout out to Jungle Wink for that clip. And let's just take a look at the idea, because again, it's not to litigate this here on YouTube, but I'm just trying to give you these points to consider at the points that he's making. Some of the other things that you could look at, just, you know, half empty, half full, you know, whatever. But, you know, when you think about Ripple, think about Ripple as a bank. When all of a sudden you think about Ripple and the escrow and all of these things and the rolling it out and doling it out, you know, the Fed does the same thing. They print money. They decide how much goes out, right? They decide how many T-bonds to go out and buy and to back what they're doing, right? All of these things are really activities that are banking activities. What I see is XRP as currency personally. And at the end of the day, I see it be over the years that Ripple has been active, they have been disseminating and implementing XRP across many different areas of industry, because the real deal is in order to have mass adoption, it ain't money unless everybody agrees that it's money. And if it's going to be money, it's because it benefits everybody that holds it. So that's really where I'm at there. And then the other thing is like, let's not get too twisted up about what the SEC sees this. Now, I know it's me. I'm not trying to downplay this entire thing, but I want to just go over the idea really quickly before I play this next clip here. It's simply this. Look, the UK has already said that XRP is an exchange token. Okay, most other customers around the world already see XRP as currency, and so does the jurisdiction they're in. So at the end of the day, they can call this whatever they want to call it. I don't believe whatever they treat it as, it's going to hurt the full-scale intended use of this asset, because we're going to talk about the end goal of this asset here in just a second. Let's listen to this gentleman who's become a person of note here lately. He's an attorney named Jeremy Hogan, and he discusses here the impact of the lawsuit, and he gets to the last part of this lawsuit where he talks about the prayer for relief here, which is where you go apparently to look at what is really the crux of the crock, right? So here we get to this. Let's just play this little quick clip and then we'll talk about this here.
Understand why this is, we need to take a deeper dive into the actual lawsuit against Ripple. Now let's take a look. And what did I tell you earlier about reviewing a lawsuit? Start at the end and look at the prayer for relief and see exactly what the plaintiff is asking for. So let's take a look. Roman numeral 1, the SEC asks for an order that Ripple stop selling XRP. That is primarily what is being asked for. 2, the SEC asks for disgorgement, which is a gross-sounding way of saying giving back the money made by the sale of XRP. Now,
well, let's talk about that for a second. Ripple didn't sell me my XRP, right? So how are they going to get my money back to me? I didn't buy it from them. I'm a secondary market guy. Right? So what are we talking about here? We're talking about Ripple OTC sales, and they giving back the money to OTC sales, but we already got our XRP, right? What are we really talking about when that, are we talking about OTC? Are we talking about the entire market? How would one get my money back when I didn't purchase it from Ripple? That to me is an interesting point right there. Let's keep going.
Who would the money be disgorged to? The buyers of XRP. Now,
It's not that simple unless you're talking about a direct OTC sale.
the third request is essentially the same as the first, and Roman numeral 4 is again asking for money, this time as a penalty. Now, when I read the prayer for relief a second time this weekend, something jumped out at me, and that is under federal law, you can request something called a declaratory judgment, and a declaratory judgment requests or asks for an order clarifying something. Like you can ask for a declaratory judgment clarifying a contractual provision, immigration court, you can clarify an individual's legal status, or in this case, possibly a declaration that XRP is a security and not a currency. So I looked at it and I said, where's the request for a declaratory judgment in the Ripple lawsuit? It's not there. Now, understand that in a lawsuit, a judge cannot grant something that is not requested. The omission of a request for declaratory judgment tells me that the SEC is not after XRP. They don't want, for whatever reason, something saying XRP is a security. All they want is to punish or maybe to enforce the law as to Ripple and the other two defendants. In other words, the effect of a verdict in this case will be minimal as to XRP. In fact, it would have almost no effect whatsoever, except as to how it affects Ripple. So, our worst case scenario has now gotten much better, I think. But as you know, my thesis on the situation is that Ripple would be smart and want to reach a settlement, and that a trial and a verdict is not likely. So I thought to myself, well, what would a settlement look like? Because I always want to dig deeper in these things.
Listen.
So in my practice, if I was advising a client, I would try to find prior settlements between persons like my client and the plaintiff. And guess what? We have a settlement we can look at in the public record in the case of SEC versus Paragon Coin. And let's go ahead and take a look. Now, the Paragon Coin case was much more of a slam dunk case than the Ripple case, of course. There wasn't much of a fight that the defendants apparently put up, or they didn't really have the resources. I'm not sure, but it was a completely different situation than the Ripple litigation. So let's look at the settlement that was reached. First, in paragraph 50B, the defendant is required to set up claim forms for people who bought the Paragon coins so that the profits could be paid back to them and have those claims monitored by the SEC. Next, jumping down to paragraph A, the settlement orders that Paragon Inc. sees violating the securities laws. Part B there requires the payment of penalties in the amount of $250,000. Again, just like in the Ripple lawsuit, there is nothing here that would be seen as a declaration or anything creating any precedent as to whether XRP out in the wild is a currency. It only reflects what Paragon did and mainly requires them to stop that activity and give back the money that was made. Now, the big question is, what effect would a verdict or settlement that looks like this have on Ripple? And perhaps more importantly, what effect would it have on XRP, its value and its usage? And I'm very sorry, but I am not qualified to answer that question. I know I'm disappointing you, but...
And there he is, and he stops at the money question. But I still appreciate his insight, Jeremy, I really do. And look, as it pertains to this, it's this first one here that I look at. Permanently enjoining defendants and each of their respective agents, servants, employees, attorneys, and other persons in active concert or participation with any of them from violating directly or indirectly to Section 5A and 5C of Securities Act, including by delivering XRP to any persons or taking any other steps to affect any unregistered offer or sale of XRP. To stop selling XRP. That's the first point in this prayer relief, right? They want Ripple to stop selling it in any way from any person attached directly or indirectly to them, is to stop the sale of this unregistered, so-called unregistered security. Well, then one has to ask if that judgment alone could end up causing the escrow to be turned over. Turned over to who? I mean, I've speculated for a long time that I believe the escrow is being held by PolySign. I mean, I don't know that. I speculate that because, for one, escrow by definition means a third party holds it. We've never gotten that straight answer from Ripple. So we don't know. Will this yield that information? I firmly have said here on the channel that I don't believe, however this goes, whether you call it a tennis racket or a security or a currency, I've often said that I don't believe that Ripple will be able to remain the steward of the escrow releases. And I've said that because I don't believe, if you really understand the full intended use of XRP, and I believe that you and I both firmly do, we understand that they are working right now with central banks to help onboard them to the XRP ledger so they can issue stable coins. We also understand that SBI in Japan has been testing XRP in a $6.6 trillion FX currency market. Don't believe it. It's still true. If you understand that this asset can serve whatever they call it, if this asset can serve these areas alone, it will drive the price so high it'll make your head spin. If you understand that, and I believe all of us really do, then you have to ask yourself, would a blockchain infrastructure company or a SPAC, a special purpose acquisition company like Ripple, be able to remain the steward of the XRP token, which is going to serve these trillion-dollar markets? That's going to do it for me. Hit the like and subscribe and leave a comment below. Make sure you share with somebody you know and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. By the way, there is a Link to Lunch and Learn coming up January 20th in just 7 days. Please make sure that you absolutely sign up for that. And in fact, I'm going to pull it up for you just so you can see the website here. I want to make sure you can take a look at it. This is a really great community of people, and I do not use community lightly. I don't mind telling you that. And make sure you take a look at it. Here it is for you to see right here. And this is linked to. It is a private investing made simple private equity company. You do have to be an accredited investor to buy the SPVs of these particular companies right now. They have had Ripple in the past, Coinbase in the past, and so many others, Robinhood. It's a really great company with really great people in it. And I tell you something, you can learn a lot by joining that company, even if you're not an accredited investor, and listen to what these people that invest in this space have to say. So make sure you tune in for that and sign up and download the free app, and I will catch all of you on the next one.